Oh, I can smell the strawberry.
The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
The following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
By tomorrow, I will rule the world!
You think he's gone? He's not gone. That's the whole point. He's never gone.
Is this some radical new therapy?
You see?
Well, I must have not been paying attention when you were just talking to me.
There's just one big cluster today.
You could repeat the question.
But we're here.
Listen more attentively. There must have been something in all of that.
It's all right. We'll figure it out.
Wasn't quite so easy.
Yeah, I think.
Can you hear me, Kristen?
And I must have missed something when you were just talking to me. I must have not been paying attention.
At least my toothache went away.
That's good.
And I think we have to put 11 restaurant back into the rotation.
Oh, okay.
Not this week, but next week. All right, we're shared. We're going to have them going.
Ready to roll?
You pull me up just a little bit.
Yep. When the music comes down,
You pull me down? No.
the music comes
Nobody
down, the
wants to hear
mics come
me.
up.
You would think I'd be ready after all the delays. Still not ready.
You got it. We got everything.
No, I know my sponsors are. There they are. All right, I guess we'll get this show going. Hi, how you guys doing? My name's Tom Duggan with the Paying Attention Podcast. Hi, atop Two Guys Smoke Shop at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. We've got our good buddy Dave-ID Consoli with us here today. Going to talk about a number of things Methuen. But before we get to our Methuen stuff, let me talk about our sponsors, and then I've got another one or two topics I want to touch on real quickly. First, I want to thank our sponsors. That list of sponsors. Boy, I wish the Hood Boogers would do another boycott.
Yeah.
Because we increased our sponsorship 200% when they started their boycott, when Sharon Burchell started her little boycott Tommy Duggan on Facebook. That was fucking hilarious. So let's start with Bonfire Wellness Center in North Andover. I think I'm going to be there this weekend, although I am on deadline. But I've been following. I missed the grand opening because of my health, but I will be dropping in within the next week to Bonfire Wellness Center in North Andover. A&J Goodwin Plumbing. If you ever need a plumber, those are the guys to call. A&J Goodwin Plumbing. Just give them a call if you need them. 4-star lighting, free shout for them. Stadium Chiropractic. W3ON. Those are the guys that do my website. That's Dave-ID Natale. Is it Dave-ID Natale or Dave-ID? Oh, it's just Dave-ID Natale. No, you're not on.
Yeah, he's the best.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
He does my stuff, too.
My apologies. After too loud coughing in the microphone,
That's
you got
all
muted.
right.
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
It's all good. Who else do you have? Enterprise Bank. We love Enterprise Bank. Jessica and Marilyn and Jen and Jesus and everybody over there. Now, normally, like when a business goes online and starts talking about like their diversity officer, I mock them because it's so silly, right? But when Enterprise Bank does it, I know everybody over there and I love all those people. So they posted a thing about Jesus Suriel being their diversity officer or something. Mm-hmm. And I didn't see that it was him. I was scrolling and I scanned and I saw somebody had a diversity officer and I started making this really snarky comment. And it's a good thing I looked right before I hit send. I looked and I went, "Oh, I don't want to do that." Those people are great over there.
No, they're good.
They're excellent. Chris's Barbershop on Main Street in Salem, New Hampshire. I actually had my hair cut there. I had a barber do my hair for the first time since COVID. Normally I have Nancy just come over and just do the buzz cut, but I went to see Chris's Barbershop because they're great people. 11 Restaurant. I was at 11 Restaurant's grand opening on, I'm going to say it was Tuesday. Very impressed with the menu. Really impressed with the look inside. I don't know how they're going to make a success of that on Essex Street. It's almost like you took an Andover restaurant and put it in downtown Lawrence. And so if you go after 5 o'clock, there's a parking lot across the street that usually there's a couple of spots. But if you try going during the day, I don't know that you're going to be able to get in there. And that's my only concern with them, is that during the day, you're really going to have to like park at the Buckley Garage and walk a couple of blocks, or circle the block a few times. Because Essex Street, the thing is that when Roy Vasco was the chief, if somebody was double parked on Essex Street, they were like, everyone had orders. All the cops had orders. If you're driving down Essex Street and there's a double parker, move them along or tow the car. And since Roy left, I noticed going down Essex Street, now people are double and triple parked on Essex Street, and there's no enforcement. I was actually last Wednesday night going down Essex Street. I know I'm diverting here, but going down Essex Street, there were 3 different cars double parked on Essex Street, and behind me was a cruiser, so I'm thinking, okay, he's going to pull over and he's going to have to make these people move. And he didn't have his lights on. He wasn't on his way to a call. He was just sauntering down Essex Street with nothing to do. And when I got to the next light, there was another cop at the next light. So now I have a cop, 2 cars in front of me, 1 car behind me. Not one of them pulled over and made anybody move their car. So that's my only concern about 11 restaurants, that people can have a problem parking during the day. But the food was good. It was a little pricey, but for the atmosphere, it was average for a pricey restaurant, maybe an Andover restaurant. So we're wishing Natalia and Yoel some good luck there. Prime Insurance, the Doug Mercurio Law Office, Patrick's Eatery, which just reopened Harrison's inside Patrick's Eatery, which is great. Pleasant Valley Landscaping Contractors, AFC Urgent Care, Clear Path for Veterans New England, Tomo and Shaken Seafood, EIS Investigation and Gun Training, Marseille & Son Construction, the Zany Pesce Law Office, and Century 21 McLennan Real Estate. All right, thanks for coming, folks. Good night. That's the end of the show. That's pretty much it. That's all I have time for now.
You're good.
So I got a couple of things. Let's start with, so we've had this video now I've been wanting to show. We can start it like around the 20-second mark. So let me set this up for you. And there was no way I was going to forget this story, because it is so indicative of how people who pretend to be journalists use their position in order to interfere with an election. And, it's interesting how in the last 5 to 10 years, we've invented these terms like misinformation, interfering with an election. Everything you do interferes with an election. Everything you do influences an election. If you hate Donald Trump and you go on Facebook and you say Donald Trump is a Nazi, you're trying to influence an election. Are you not? Are you interfering with an election? Of course you are. In a free country, that's what people do. But I'm really tired of the mainstream media pretending that they're news people when they're really just there to help their political side. Now, we've got people on the Republican side. There's really like one, Fox News. So the left is always crying about Fox News all the time as if all the others are good. They're not. But then you've got MSNBC, CNN, the New York Times, the Washington Post, all right down the line, the Boston Globe, the LA Times, right down the line. The vast majority of the media is there to protect and promote the Democrat Party. That's what they're there for. And so about 3, 4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks ago, I've been holding this for a while, right, Chrissy? Like at least 5 weeks. Donald Trump was asked it's in Howell, Michigan, is that correct? So he was asked by the police officers, the sheriff's union, I believe, to come to Howell, Michigan to do a little presentation so they could endorse him. So what you're going to see now is a video, and and you can't hear the question offline, but I actually found the original video, boosted the audio, and transcribed the question. So this was the question. So he gets up, he gives a little speech, and then a so-called reporter yells out, and this is what she yelled out. She yelled out, "Why did you come to a place that has a history of racism in the South? Of slavery and racism in the South?" That was the question. So he gets up, he's talking about public safety, the border, and she yells out why he came to a location, a city, a town, Howell, Michigan, that has a, quote, history of racism and slavery.
Thank you, everybody, very much.
Thank you for coming. Campaign is having you for being in his town because they say there are white supremacists here a month ago. They're Democrats.
Who was here in 2021? Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Right? So this is what they do. They've got to... They ask these gotcha questions to impress the people back at the newsroom. They ask these questions, in order to say, not to elicit information from Donald Trump, not to get him to reveal something to us that might tell us how he would govern the country. It's how this gotcha question of, why did you come to a place that has a, quote, history of white supremacy? That's what she said, not racism. A history of white supremacy. And his answer was, well, who was here 4 years ago? Joe Biden. Oh, but they didn't ask when Joe Biden came 4 years ago. Go back and watch that tape. That's on YouTube, too. So go to YouTube and search for Biden, Howell, Michigan, and it will come up. Not one person said, why did you come to a place that has a history of white supremacy? Because they have a narrative to push that Donald Trump is secretly doing all these white supremacist things. He's doing secret hand movements. He's throwing out what they call dog whistles, which, again, is a made-up term. Dog whistle is a term. I've wanted to do a show on this for a while. Dog whistle is a term invented by political operatives so that you will hear something in what somebody says that they're not saying. This is a dog whistle. He said this, but what he really meant was something totally different. And it's infuriating because she could have asked him about the war in Ukraine, unemployment benefits, homeless veterans, the opioid crisis, the border, taxes, public education. She could have asked him anything. She's got the guy who's going to be possibly the head of the free world for the next 4 years. She could have asked him anything she wanted. And she asked him, why did you come to a town that has, quote, links to white supremacy? And this is what they do day after day after day. And then when they're interviewing Kamala Harris, they get questions like, Kamala, how come you're so awesome? Can you explain to us how you got so awesome? And it's infuriating because if they just went out and asked the question, if Donald Trump was as bad as they make him out to be, all they would have to do is go out and ask him a substantive policy question, and it would be revealed in his answer, no matter what his answer was. If he was full of shit, you'd know he was full of shit, because those of us who watch the news would know he was full of shit. But instead, they've got to pepper it with, when did you stop beating your wife is the kind of question that he got. As if no matter how you answer that question, you're the bad guy, and I'm the good guy. I'm the one asking the questions. I'm not like you. I'm a good person. I didn't hold an event in Howell, Michigan. I'm not a white supremacist. You're the white supremacist. And it's infuriating. And they do it after every debate. They do it after every press conference. CNN starts every show every day with Donald Trump lied today about the lies that he told yesterday about lying the day before. He's a lying liar who lies, and he lies about lying. And that's how they start every report about Donald Trump, every report. Donald Trump said something today that was totally not true. And then when you actually dig into it, half the things they say aren't true actually turn out to be true. Some of them aren't. Some of them he is lying about, because he does lie a lot. But the reporter's job is not to, like when they do the debates, the reporter's job is not to fact check. You watch when we do debates here on this show, we do them every year. We do them on local elections, we do state elections. We've even done a couple of federal elections. I throw out a topic, and if it's David Consoli versus DJ Beauregard, and they're running for mayor, and I throw out a topic, and DJ Beauregard lies through his teeth, it's not my job to correct him. It's the opponent's job to correct him. It's the opponent's job to say, no, that's a lie. Not my job as the moderator. My job is to make sure that everybody's respectful, that everybody gets enough time. My job is to basically, just steer the ship to make sure everybody's getting enough time and that everything's being fair. Everyone stays on topic. And if Dave Consoli lies during a debate with DJ Beauregard, it's DJ Beauregard's job to call him on the lie, not mine.
Can you steer the ship?
Right? So when you're watching the debate, whether it's Kamala and Trump, whether it's Vance and Tim Walz, and you see the moderators putting their finger on the scale going, yeah, but that's not technically true, because in China, it's not really Thursday, because in China, it's really Friday, because they're past the prime meridian, and it's already tomorrow in China. So he lied when he said today was Thursday. That's not their freaking job. And when they do that, they're revealing that they're putting their finger on the scale for the candidate that they want. And the candidate that they want is obviously Kamala Harris, period. The candidate that they want for vice president is obviously Tim Walz. All right, what else do we have? I wanted to bring that in because I want you to see how the media lies, even in just the way they ask the question. Like, even the way they ask the question is tipping the scale so that you'll think either good or bad about a certain person. We do have an update. I got a letter yesterday from the Secretary of State, the Attorney General's office, that the Haverhill School, we filed, the background on this is, the Valley Patriot filed a public records, My brain is just not right today. The Valley Patriot filed a complaint with the Attorney General's office against the Haverhill School Committee for having an illegal secret meeting. And the Attorney General's office sent us a letter yesterday. Since March, I filed my complaint in March, saying that we find the committee, meaning the Haverhill School Committee, did in fact violate the open meeting law as alleged in the Valley Patriots complaint discussed above. So what they did was they do what a lot of these public boards do. They put something on the agenda, but it's very vague. They'll put like landscaping. And then when they get there at the meeting, they talk about how we want to terminate David Consoli's landscaping contract. But David Consoli didn't know they were going to talk about him, so he didn't go to defend himself. And that's illegal. It's a violation of the open meeting law. You have to specifically list on your public postings exactly what you're going to talk about so the people involved can show up and take part in the discussion. This is not the first time they've done this. And by the way, the topic behind this was they were trying to throw Scott Wood off the Whittier Tech School Committee because the Haverhill School Committee appoints the people that are on the Whittier Tech School Committee. And they wanted to throw him off because he dared to run against Melinda Barrett for mayor. He dared to run against her. So now they've got to retaliate. But if they put that on the agenda, Scott Wood would show up with all of his friends and people would complain about it. And everybody would cry about the First Amendment, and they wouldn't be able to get away with it. So they put this vague thing about Whittier School Committee on the agenda, but didn't specifically list what it was. And then at the meeting, they voted to terminate Scott Wood from the Haverhill School Committee, the Whittier Tech School Committee. So I filed. Where was Tim? By the way, where was Tim Coco from WHAV? Should have been filing this complaint, not me. He's the Haverhill guy, not me. But he's in bed with Melinda Barrett, so he didn't do it. So I have to do it now. So I had to go and I had to do it, and they ruled in favor of the Valley Patriot, said that the Haverhill School Committee did violate the open meeting law, but then, like most government bodies do, they punted the football. They said, yes, Haverhill School Committee violated the open meeting law, but we don't think they did it on purpose, even though I gave them proof that they did it on purpose. I sent them reams of documents proving that they did it on purpose. But we don't think they did it on purpose, and they cured their mistake by having a meeting after Mr. Duggan filed his complaint and putting it back on the agenda and discussing it again afterwards. So in other words, if you rob a bank but you disclose that you robbed the bank, that's okay with the Attorney General's office. By the way, did you know that like police chiefs and superintendents of schools, it used to be against the law for them to go to like the mayor's fundraiser. Let's say you get the mayor of Lawrence, Brian DePena, is running for re-election. And the police chief and the superintendent of schools, both of whom owe their contract to the mayor, show up and give him money and literally buy their job. That used to be against the law. In Massachusetts, not against the law anymore. No, as long as you disclose that you're buying your job in Massachusetts, now it's okay. That's the new law. I'm not exactly sure when that changed, but I know when Judy Scannell was superintendent, I filed multiple complaints that she was going to events for the school committee candidates that then had to vote on her contract. And back then, it was against the law. Suddenly now, I'm filing complaints against police chiefs for going to fundraisers for mayors and city councilors who vote on their contract. And now I'm being told by the Attorney General's office that's no longer against the law because they disclosed that they were buying their job. So I'm going to leave you with that. I know we had a couple of other things to get to, but we've got Dave-ID Consoli is here with us today. We'll talk a little bit about Methuen with the passing of Methuen Mayor Neil Perry. I had a number of people, even as recently as 2 nights ago at 11 Restaurant, say to me, hey, Tom, how come you didn't go to the wake? Hey, Tom, how come you didn't go to the funeral? Hey, Tom, other people were there that didn't like him. Why didn't you go? And I said, because those other people are scumbags. Those other people cut him down behind his back and then to his face told him that he was a great guy. Those other people are now trying to glom attention off of Neil Perry's death, even though they hated the guy. And I'm not a hypocrite. I'm sorry, I'm just not. I'm not going to go. To me, that's a slap in the face to his family to have somebody show up that didn't like the guy. I'm sorry. That's just how I feel. I didn't like it when my father was killed and people that I knew hated my father and tried to screw my father and tried to take his job away from him showed up and pretended and were crying the loudest in the front row. I hated it. And so I try not to do that myself. So my heart does go out to the Perry family. We did not get along, but I don't want to see anybody die. And to those people who kept saying, well, you should have gone because so-and-so was there and he hated him. And I was like, yeah, well, that's because so-and-so's a piece of crap. That's why. And I'm not a piece of crap. I'm not gonna be a hypocrite and go and pretend that we were still friends, because we were not. We were at one time very good friends. Some of those are the best shows that I've ever done, with me and Neil sitting here arguing about stuff in a fun way and showing people that you can disagree on topics without being disagreeable, until he became disagreeable. So it kind of changed a little bit. So why would I go do that? And by the way, there's at least 2 city councilors, 1 school committee member, and 2 state officials who were on the phone with me less than a week before he died, telling me what a piece of crap they thought he was. And I put on TV, and there they are. They're right there. I'm going, what are you doing? What are you doing? So I don't know if you have anything to say about any of this, Mr. Dave-ID Consoli, but
my situation's a little different than yours.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, you got along well with him.
I feel horrible.
At least until the very, very end.
No,
you guys were in the middle of
that's not true. So let me expand.
All right, I'll let you do it.
All right, so I feel horrible about his passing.
Me too.
Obviously, my condolences go out to his family.
Me too.
And all his colleagues. But Neil and I had a pretty good relationship. The fact that we had a disagreement in the last week of his life, the timing of that makes me feel terrible. But to his credit, we did have a meeting at City Hall, him and I in private. And, he, out of courtesy to him, I gave him, a couple months heads up that I was going to do what I was going to do if we did not have action. And he said to me, it'll never change our friendship. And if you he said, and if you do this, you're paying for lunch next time, with kind of like a smirk. But the fact of the matter is, I took no joy in going to city council and complaining about the situation. I've taken a little bit of flack from certain people about my last 2 appearances, but I've tried to be fair. I've tried to be courteous. I did take him to task on a couple things. So if we can go back on what the situation's about, when he ran for office in 2019, he held an event at my home. And we had quite a few people there. And, we talked. He said, I understand you're a business owner. And I said, yes, we just built a facility. We spent quite a bit of money on it, state of the art. But we have issues with the infrastructure in the area. And he said, well, you know what? If I get elected, we'll put someone on it. So in February of 2020, he kept his word. He sent me his chief of staff, Dave-ID Consoli.
The best.
He sent me Pat Bauer. He sent me Joe Solomon, and one other person I don't recall. And we didn't really get any action. I talked about Joe Solomon taking care of the parking issue. And because Chief Solomon and his department were terrific. They were responsive. They were transparent. They were communicative. And Dave-ID Consoli, I found very transparent. And I said to my wife, I said, this woman is terrific. She's honest. She's out front. She follows up. And that's how I became friends with her, because she was always genuine. And one of the things that the administration had told me in the spring of 2020 is, we can't help you. And they explained why. I mean, Pat Bauer and everybody explained why. This is what it's going to cost. We don't have the money. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Okay? We have to allocate resources because we were in uncharted territory. You remember what the spring of 2020 was?
I do.
And I understood. So I was like, okay, that's fine. A couple other business owners kind of backed off as well. And we let it go for a couple years. When we came out of COVID, we started asking questions again about, what's going on with the road improvement. So the building of that 150,000 square foot warehouse at the top of the industrial park started this whole process again. And one of the things that I have in front of me is a report from one of the consultants that says the applicant must provide off-site improvements necessary to support this development. More specifically, providing a roadway that is sufficient width to allow 2 commercial vehicles to pass safely. Now, that never happened. So some of my fellow neighbors and business owners want to point the finger at the Perry administration, want to point the finger at the Community Development Board, saying that builder or that developer failed to put up the money to give the infrastructure. It's a $9.9 million building, which is probably true. As a business person, I would have negotiated that same deal. They were allowed to build that with zero money for road improvements. They gave $10,000 voluntarily. the city screwed up big time. Okay? So now the onus is on the city to fix the road because now, we're going to have some major traffic issues. It's unsafe. So now that I started making noise, and we have been appearing, and we're going to appear again on Monday night with a couple other business owners are coming, just for follow-up. And the city's going to be on the hook. Now, Mayor Perry was agitated the last meeting, and rightfully so, because I came up and I revealed a few things that I wasn't happy about. And he did put on the record that there's almost $3 million put aside. I think it was 2.5 or whatever the number was. And the engineering has gone out to bid, and we know
but just recently, though.
Just recently. Well, I apologize because I came in all fired up. I was pretty upset. I've been put under a microscope.
But why are you apologizing? You have every right.
Well, I apologize for bursting into the show.
Oh, all right.
That's why I brought you cheesecake.
Okay.
Okay? So
with no fork.
Well,
how dare you?
Can we get him a fork, please? So where we're going from there is now we're looking for constant updates. Neil Perry said in the last meeting he's going to meet with DPW every single week to make sure this is on track. And now the onus is on DJ as the acting mayor to follow through with this. And, kudos to DJ because he knows that I felt horrible about, Neil being upset and the way this went down. And DJ offered to sit down with me and Neil and have a meal and kind of smooth things over. Now, just because we had a disagreement doesn't mean our friendship was blown up. So we're moving in the right direction. And if you watched that last meeting, kudos to Dana Pesh. She was absolutely...
She was okay.
She was more than okay.
She was okay.
She was absolutely stellar.
She looked fantastic.
That woman is really smart, and she's very diplomatic. The way she carried herself through that meeting and hitting on certain points.
She's too nice.
And
she's too nice.
I like the way she operates.
But she's too nice.
Let's back up to Jana Pesh. When you went into a coma, and I did my very first show with her, this topic came up, and she sat there and she listened, and she didn't really forget about that topic. And then when it was brought up again this year, she came out. She looked at the site. She explained. She said, I drive a small car. There's big trucks going on. The road is 15 feet wide. So the Methuen Police Department, in my opinion, has been the most proactive. Chief McNamara has done things in the interim. They've expedited brush clearing so you can see around the corner. They put up some Jersey barriers as a temporary safety measure so we don't die and going over the hill. There was almost a massive head-on collision yesterday. There's skid marks going down the street from a large truck.
Can you imagine the lawsuits if somebody has a head-on collision today?
Well, that's what...
After it's been publicly revealed that they've done nothing about it?
Typical attorney Jana Pesh was like, hey, we have liability here for the city, and I've been barking about this. But so now, Chief McNamara has been tremendous. He spoke on our behalf at the last meeting. He acknowledged it. He's reached out to me. He sent Deputy Chief out there. He's been in contact with me. He's actually been providing updates. So he's been stellar as well.
Chief McNamara is a good chief.
Yeah.
He came up through Lawrence. He came up through a lot of conflict, and Methuen is benefiting from that.
Yes, but even if you go back to the Solomon administration, Chief Solomon gave us a guy named Jeffrey Brock, and I think he's a police officer. I don't know if he's superior. If he is, I apologize. But from day one, from 2020 up until last week, the Methuen Police Department has been very communicative. They follow up. They check in with you. They give you updates. They have been really good.
Methuen's got a good police department.
Even though
overall, there's always bad apples.
And I feel bad because Neil Perry was a friend of mine, and we shared a lot of laughs. We had a decent relationship. And to his credit, when I told him, I said, Mr. Mayor, please don't make me go in front of council. And he did say, I understand. But I think my friendship with him was detrimental to me getting progress on this project. Now, you come in here all the time and you complain about the McCartys, you complain about the friends and family plan. People get special treatment. Right. For me, it had the opposite effect. And I'll use my family as an example. And I love my mom. Everybody knows how I feel about my mom. My mom will call me and she'll say, hey, can you send a crew to my house to do bushes? Yeah, Ma, I'll get to it.
Right.
My wife will say, hey, can you know how I feel about my wife? Hey, honey, when are you going to clean the beds? When are you going to send someone to do mulch? When am I going to get my lawn cut? Stuff like that. Yeah, honey, okay. My siblings, same thing. So I'm always putting my loved ones behind my paying customers.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah, you got to get to business first.
So I think it's like, yep, David, yep, we'll get to you. His former chief of staff was excellent. His current chief of staff.
She's a nightmare.
Well,
she's a nightmare.
I like her, and she's a friend of mine.
Have you seen the hate that she's posted on Facebook since he passed away? Have you seen all the hate that she has posted?
She's ramping up some political stuff.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is my relationship with her. She's a nice woman. We were friends. She was instrumental in me purchasing that land and knocking that building down because I bought it from her sister. Her brother-in-law passed away. Now, she's intimately knowledgeable about the issues that we face up there. Since she's been chief of staff, I've never gotten a phone call, a text, an email, anything. What can I do to help? Absolutely nothing.
No, she's a nightmare up there.
So, and I don't know if that's because I'm her friend. It's like, hey, yeah, we'll get to you. But, I would have appreciated.
Are you her friend after the way she treated you? She's still your friend?
She's not bad to me. I'm just saying I've gotten no action. I haven't even gotten a note from her. What can I do to help? And I'm not looking for. I've always said this, and you've been witness to this. I'm not looking for
favors,
for
right?
Preferential treatment.
Right.
In 2020, when they told me guardrails expensive, moving these poles are expensive, we don't have the money. We're in the middle of a pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, fine. But now all the business owners are really upset that development went through and no money was allocated by the developer. And now they'd like, too bad. Mm-hmm. Now the city has to go, and the city has to go and take care of this. Now, we ran into another problem. Councilor Ferretra, great guy. He called me. He said, I'm trying to help you. He did some research. He discovered that the street might not be accepted, which is a big problem because now, the business park is about 50 years old. Now you can't use certain funds for that. Now, Neil Perry said in an open meeting, yeah, there's workarounds. We can do other things to make the street safe. And I'm hoping DJ carries that torch and follows through. And Councilor Ferretra was treated pretty poorly at that meeting. In that hallway, there was some of my neighbors swearing at him. The volume was up. I was really uncomfortable because here's a guy, whether you like Joel or whether you don't, I found him very helpful. Mm-hmm. I found him very approachable. He was there to help us. Nick DeZoglio put this on the agenda. And Nick, congratulations, Nick. He had a baby the night of the meeting, but he passed the torch over to Jana Pesh, and she did a stellar job. And I'm very grateful for the people that advocate for us. Mm-hmm. I'm feeling kind of bad that after that last meeting, Director Bauer took some criticism about him not following through. And, I don't think it's warranted. I think that, the administration had a lot going on. We had a mayor who was trying to do his job, was going to dialysis twice a week, had some health issues, and he couldn't get to everything. And to lay that on the feet of our tremendous DPW director is not right.
It was wrong of Neil, but I think you're giving him, and I know he just passed away, so we're trying to be as delicate as we can because he just passed away.
No, you are. I'm being sincere.
Well,
you can be. You hated the guy. I can be sincere. He was a friend of mine, and like I said, was I happy with him the last week? Absolutely not. Mm-hmm. He made some gestures to me in the meeting, and that's why I said to DJ. I know he's upset in the short term because I did release stuff that I probably shouldn't have. But
no, you had every right to do that.
But that's okay. But business is business, and I'm sure had Neil lived an extra week, we would have smoothed things over. Because, like he said, with his little smirk, well, you're buying lunch next time. That's just typical Neil. And I never really had a problem with him, and he was always polite and complimentary. Always asked me about my family. And he was one of the best mayors that, whether you like the guy or not, he was one of the best mayors that we ever had. I'd say he's top 3. And he inherited a disaster from the Jajuga administration, and the Judy scandal thing and the police contract and all that other stuff and everything that went on. And our bond rating is back. We have money in free cash now. He did a lot of good for the city. Did he fall short on certain things? Absolutely, but he's human.
Well, what I started to say is, he got mad at me last year when he ran for re-election, and I said on the show that he should probably think about stepping back because of his health. I don't know if he's going to be able to actually do the job. And I'm not taking anything away from him. He did the best that he could given his health situation. And I have had a very horrible health situation, as everybody knows, so I empathize with that. But would Methuen have gotten more out of another mayor that didn't have those health situations?
Yeah,
and
I don't know. And that's
when he got mad at me about that, I said, listen, I wasn't saying it as an insult. I could have.
Yeah.
I wasn't saying it as an insult. What I was saying is that because of your health, you should step, A, for your health, but also for the city. The city shouldn't have to worry about your situation not being done because the mayor has a health issue.
All right, I feel the need to come on here and defend myself because I've taken some criticism about in the last month or so about the way I've gone about this. Okay, I have been extremely patient. This has been going on for 4.5 years, and because Neil had some health issues, I didn't push the issue. The tipping point was August of 2023 when Neil said at a meeting with all of the business owners, and some of those business owners has 4 or 5 tenants. They were all there. He said, we want to thank David for putting this together. He's going to be the conduit between the administration and the business owners. He put me in a spot.
And now they're all coming to you.
They're all saying, and I can't repeat this on the air, but your bleeping buddy, he lied to us. What the heck is going on? You guys are full of crap. And I'm taking heat. And I went to him with,
welcome to my world.
With hat in hand and said, please, you do something.
Right.
Get something started. And the last time I barged onto the stage, I was hot because I was specifically told in August of 2023, engineering went out to bid, okay? And the ball was going to be rolling in April. When the ball didn't roll in April, Jana Pesh sent an email on my behalf to the administration in May and said, can you look into this? They never responded as of that meeting, okay? So, I put Jana in a tough spot as well, but I was desperate for information. So in July, when I met with Neil in private, he promised me we're going to get something started. Just show something. I don't care. And if you roll back the tape, with Jana Pesh sat right here and I was hosting. And I said to her, I'm just looking for an administration that's approachable and some transparency. If someone came to me and said, I'm sorry, this project's going to take 5 years, I don't care. As long as we have a plan and someone's being transparent and honest with us. So when he told me on July 3rd that this was going to happen, and then subsequently 3 weeks later I found out that nothing happened, then I went, okay, I'm going to city council. And they looked like, when I handed this stuff out with all these reports, they're all like, we know nothing about this. Okay, now they know. To Neil's credit, his last meeting, God rest his soul, he did put on the record, he's not happy with my presentation. He's going to follow through. He put the money in. It's on the record. Now it's DJ's administration to follow through. And listen, whether you like DJ or not, I have complete faith that he will do the right thing. He wants to run for mayor now. He has my support.
He's been wanting to run for mayor since he was 12.
Yeah, well, so he
Which
announced,
was really only a few years ago.
But, Neil was revered. I mean, if you watch the meeting with Joel, he was all choked up. Allison Safi wrote just a wonderful tribute to him on Facebook. So you can see that it was more than a working relationship with some on that council. Some of them became friends. He became a mentor to a lot of them. And, I don't want to trash his memory. I just want to say that this was an unfortunate timing of our disagreement. It was our very first one, our very, very first disagreement.
Well, the thing is, it's his job. And one of the things that pushed us away from each other is that I would criticize his job and he would take it as well as criticizing him. And I would say, listen, we could be friends, but I don't like what you did with the COVID money, and I think you should have done it a different way, and you didn't even handle it right when you got caught. And he would come at me like I just ran over his dog, and I'd be like, listen, there's a difference between criticizing you and criticizing the job that you're doing. We ought to be able to be friends.
Typical Irishman, he would fire off sometimes, but Neil loved me. I mean, you saw him here eating my mother's cookies with me throwing flags and blowing a whistle. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
He really, really loved me. And it breaks my heart to know that in the last week of his life, he was a little bit agitated with me that I ran out of patience.
Yeah, but you can't let that bother you because...
Well, it does. It's just who I am. I
Right,
mean,
but you have to
not-
realize, and I can say this as somebody who has had some really horrible health issues, right, over the last year, which, by the way, this week was our anniversary of me coming back. It makes you more ornery. I know that if you remember when I was just coming out of the hospital and I was just starting to try to get back to normal, I was very ornery. I was very angry. I was striking out at people that I probably shouldn't have been, and thought about it better afterwards when I was feeling better. And so whenever people are toward the end of their life and they get that way, and then a situation like what happens with you, you can't beat yourself up over it.
No, I'm
because,
not. I feel badly. I'm not beating myself up
Okay.
about it. I do feel badly because the timing is not right. I am going to follow through with this. You know, was I frustrated? Did I hate the
you
guy?
have a problem that needs to be solved.
No, but I'm saying, did I hate the guy the last week of his life?
No, all you did was
Absolutely
defend
not.
him.
You know,
you should make me furious.
Yeah.
Because all you would do is defend the guy.
Yeah. So listen, Tom, I defend you a lot.
I know you do.
Okay. So there's a lot of people that don't like you, but you know, people are seeing, you know, a lot of people see a side of me, but they don't see the other side of me. You know, my wife once said to me, I had a legal issue. I was going after someone. And my wife said to me, I came back from the lawyer, and my wife said, oh boy, this person wants to test your resolve. And trust me, my resolve is strong. We're going to get this done. So I don't want to take up too much more time.
All right. We are apparently way past.
Oh, are we? I'm sorry.
Yeah. The time's up thing, I guess, has been up there for a while. We get so deep in the weeds that we lose track of time. Although I did kill some time with the Trump thing, but I thought that was worth doing. All right, so you're coming back on the show. You know, it is the 1 year anniversary was this week of me coming out of the hospital.
We're appearing again in front of City Council on Monday.
Yep.
So we'll come back at some point with an update. I'll be back in the next week or two. But once November comes, my son Michael is still recovering from his surgery, so I'm pulling double duty at work still.
I really wanted to talk about the people that are now vying to replace Neil Perry, but we're going to have to do that on another show.
Yeah, we can. People are going to pull paper, so we can start talking about that.
I hear Ron Marcian's running, although I didn't hear it from him, though, but I did hear Ron Marcian's running.
But I do want to thank the people on the council who've been sympathetic. Some of them have been great, and there's a lot of good people in Methuen that are genuinely trying to help our situation.
Yeah.
And, you know, I my condolences to everybody, friends and family. I mean, Neil was a really good mayor. He was a decent friend to me, too.
All right, let's roll up, Mel. Want to thank our sponsors, Century 21 McLennan Real Estate, the Zanny Pesh Law Office in Methuen. I hear bankruptcies are up. I saw a special on CNN yesterday that bankruptcies are up. So if you're thinking about a bankruptcy, that's the place to go, the Zanny Pesh Law Office in Methuen. Marcian and Son Construction. I understand Ronnie Marcian's running for mayor. I didn't hear about it from him. But I did hear that he's going to run for mayor as well as DJ Beauregard. And I didn't hear from him either. EIS, Investigation and Gun Training. I think Joe Solomon might run. I'm actually hearing that. That would be fun. That would be so much fun.
That would be fun.
That would be fun. A free shout out to attorney Paul Lambert, Tomo and Shaken Seafood. I think I'm going to Tomo after this to get the Godzilla. It's pretty good over there. Clear Path for Veterans New England, AFC Urgent Care, Pleasant Valley Landscaping Contractors, Patrick's Eatery / Harrison's Roast Beef in North Andover, Prime Insurance, the Doug Mercurio Law Office, 11 Restaurant on Essex Street in Lawrence, Chris's Barbershop in Salem, New Hampshire, W3ON Stadium Chiropractic, A&J Goodwin Plumbing, and Bonfire Wellness Center in North Andover. It sounds like Melvin Taylor says you've got to go home. So go home already.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.